Recording in progress.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna hang up. Okay. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna
We'll say he's there. He's probably getting a breakfast burrito.
I think it's on a call.
I tried to bribe you all with leftover breakfast burritos from Stacy and I's event this weekend. So anyhow, so I'd love to have the cameras on. I'm not in the room, but I got my camera on. So as always, love to see you guys' faces when it makes sense. So first of all, who's got something exciting to share?
I do.
All right, so speak up so I can hear you, but tell me.
Getting a buyer agency agreement signed today, and we've actually found a home as well. They're first time home buyers and they found a new construction. So we're going in at 2 p.m. and they're using the incentives from Lennar. So they're lenders. So we're going to get them pre-approved today and work out all payments. So very exciting.
Awesome. So new construction. So when are they projecting construction will be done?
So it's actually already done. One of their houses fell through, and it lines up perfectly because I met them probably 3 weeks ago and they wanted to move in May. So that was a really tight timeline, but with new construction and it already being done, it actually works. So
That is awesome. Yay. What's Lennar paying these days?
I actually didn't look. I took your advice and said, don't calculate my commission and don't get my hopes up. So I'm just gonna fingers crossed sit here and not look yet.
Okay. It's probably, I just want to set expectations. Sorry. I would expect 1%. Which that's what Lennar does.
Okay.
But it is what it is, and that's fine. But the experience of working with a builder is awesome. When you're dealing with new construction, I still would encourage my buyer to have the home inspected by a third-party inspector, and especially a sewer scope.
Okay.
Because you can't see what's happening, and unfortunately, we have seen too many instances on new construction. Oh, I don't know, where the sewer line's not connected to the main, or that the line got crushed when all the construction work was coming in after they installed the line. And so I would definitely encourage them to pay for a third-party inspector to do that.
Okay.
Because you already have, hold on, somebody's trying to call me. I don't know who it is. Hold on. There we go. Because you're gonna go in, it's already done, right? So you're not gonna be able to do the pre-drywall inspection. So I would definitely want an inspector in there.
Okay.
Okay. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Who else has got good news to share? Miss Diana?
Yeah, we close on Wednesday for my buyer. So
First closing on
First closing.
Wednesday.
yay.
Send her lots of positive mojo, juju, and all of those types of things, right? So a couple of things when you guys have your first closing. Your coach will come with you. Okay, so make sure that when you know when your closing is going to be, I know when it's going to be so I can join you. Okay. I kind of like when Diana scheduled hers because now I can like skip a meeting I don't want to go to some weeks. So I'm going to go join her at her first closing, but get on my calendar sooner than later. Okay, always, always, always. But I love that. Yay, who else has got good news to share? Estrella?
Yeah, no problem at all.
I have a listing coming up.
Estrella's got a new listing coming up. So
Yay.
new listing. It's not the perfect story, but she helped this buyer buy a year ago, and stayed in touch with them and took good care of them. And when their life is creating some changes, that means they need to sell that house. They called Estrella first. So super excited about that and to help work through those first listings. As you're working through listings, you want to be thinking about what's your go-to-market strategy, right? And, you know, especially if you're using one of the tricks that are tools that we use when we're preparing to enter in the MLS. If you go to RE Colorado, there is actually a template that you can fill out, and you can fill it out in PDF, or you can fill it out through, I always print it because you know me, I'm a pen girl as I sit here with it in my hands. And then that helps you enter the MLS because there's a lot of data that's in the MLS that you might not know the answer to. And so one of my best practices is I will fill that out as much as I can. And then when I'm at the house for photos or for staging, or at some point in time prior to going to market and I'm with the seller, I will actually go through and see who, if I don't know the answers to the questions, I will ask the seller. Was that Sarah Miller that walked in the back there?
Elizabeth?
Oh, that's Elizabeth. It's hard to
Yeah.
see when you guys all sit so far away from the camera. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, anybody that got good news that I don't know about? Okay, how were open houses this weekend? I don't remember who all had them.
Sarah and I had one, and we only had 2 people in, but at least we had 2 people in.
Awesome, and that's a property that's been on the market for a while, if I remember correctly. And hey, 2 people, if you get 1 lead out of it, that's a very strong prospect, it's still time well spent. And I saw you both posting it on your social media, right? And I had feedback from both of you wanting to know, can we post pictures of really cute fox families that walked through the yard while we were at the open house? And so you got some social media attention on that property, which means your people on social media go, oh my goodness, Taylor's really busy with open houses. She's rocking it. So always remember, just because your open house may not have a lot of people come through, what you do with it outside of those 2 hours is pretty significant. Who else had an open house? I know we had at least one other one. Diana, did you work? You worked an open house this weekend, right?
Yes, we did one on Saturday over in Broomfield. It was Tracy's listing out of Evergreen. So yeah, it went well. We had about 9 groups come through.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Beautiful property from what I could tell.
it was very beautiful. Yeah, great area.
Any good prospects for either of you?
Possibly 1 or 2 leads, but most everybody, well, there were like 3 that came through that were with their agents, and then so one
Okay.
that wouldn't give us any information, basically.
You're
said no.
You're always going to have one of those. Always
Yeah.
going to have one of those. Here's my comment on open houses. Even if agents bring their clients in during the open house, for us as agents, building relationships with those agents that are showing homes can absolutely be a huge win. There's multiple wins in it. One of my dear friends who, when her team is overly swamped, even though she's not in our office, she will call me up and say, hey, do you got anybody that'll work an open house? Right? Those relationships with these other agents can help you, right? As you're like negotiating, right? How awesome would it be to meet somebody at an open house, and then 2 or 3 months later, you recognize their name as you're writing an offer on one of their listings, and you're able to call and say, hey, remember we met at that open house? It makes a difference. And the last place it makes a difference is that, remember, if they're not a Keller Williams agent, what is one of the things that we have in our company that most don't?
Sure. Profit
I
sharing.
heard it. Yeah. We added a mic to that room and you still got to speak up a little bit. Profit share, right? Build your 401k, right? By sharing the Keller Williams family with agents who aren't with Keller Williams, right? So lots of good reasons there. Speaking of open houses, save the date, because how many of you would like to be able to do open houses at a higher level? How many of you would like to learn how to do open houses because you're scared to do them because you've never done one before? There's a few of you, right? So on on May 17th, during Coaching Skills Lab, which is 12:30 to 2:30, we are going to do open house mastery with the Lantern Home Group. So they are going to be our guest instructors that day, and they are going to share with us. Hey, Elizabeth, can you slide your chair to your right, please? Because you're tucked right behind Taylor and I don't get to see your beautiful face. Thank you. They're going to teach us everything they do. First of all, Lantern Home Group, their, what do I want to call it? Their number one prospecting is through open houses. That's how they find new clients. So would you like to learn from them? Yes. So Diane and crew are going to come in. They're going to teach us how they market their open houses, what they do at their open houses, and how they follow up after the open houses. So I think that's going to be a really valuable lesson. Some of it will be things that you've heard from me before, and some of it will be brand new stuff. So mark that on your calendar. Then the other thing I want you to mark on your calendar, because I'm so excited. On Thursday, May 18th, and bear with me because I got to convert times. Starting at 4 o'clock in the Old Town office, we are going to have a coaching VIP event. So this is for all of you. And it's an opportunity to meet and network with everybody that's in coaching, because how many of you know all the people that are in coaching between Bria's group and my other groups? You don't, right? So we're going to do a happy hour. So that's going to be May 18th from 4 until 7, evidently, or maybe it's 5. I don't know. It's converting times on me here. Anyway, we're going to send you out the details. Stacy's got them all, but we're just going to come in, have a little happy hour. Now, if you know me, when I throw an event, what is there always?
Food.
Good food. And what else? Prizes and games. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to wine and dine you a little bit. I think rumor has it that maybe Andy's making one of those fancy charcuterie boards that she makes. And so if you don't know my daughter, Andy, she makes some of those. So that's the big thing. What's happening tomorrow?
Ignite.
Ignite. Where?
Up here.
Up here in the Market Center Live, right? We also have starting tonight. So how many of you say, I can never, Margaret, make it to the Market Center during the week? I cannot come in from 10 until 2. I'm dual career or whatever those reasons are. I can't physically do it. We have an option of you being able to do Ignite at night. It's on Zoom. You should have gotten an email about it, but it starts at 5, ends at 7, I think. Hold on, let me find my emails. I might have still got a turn. 5 to 7 on Mondays and Wednesdays, you can join Ignite by Zoom. Here's what's really cool. What we teach Monday night is what we're going to teach on Tuesday. What we teach on Wednesday night, we're going to teach on Thursday. So regardless of which sessions you go to, now the bigger difference is one is 2 hours and one is 4 hours. What does that tell you?
A lot more intense, 2 hours.
Yeah, right. We're not going to get everything in, right? It's going to be a little bit consolidated, right? So obviously, I believe the best session will be the daytime session from 10 to 2. However, for those that just can't do it, don't go. Okay. Here's the thing. Some of you are going to tell me, Margaret, I've already done Ignite. Some of you are going to tell me I've dabbled in Ignite. But the reality is, Ignite is a program that no matter how many times you've taken it, you will get something new out of it. Because you'll get a different instructor teaching something differently. You are all in a different place in your businesses than you were when you took it the last time. Right? And I'll pick on Taylor because I like to, and she lets me, and she picks on me back, so it's fair. Okay. But she took Ignite when she first started, and she's learned some things. So now she's moved herself forward from her skills. But is she a mega agent making $1 million a year? Is she closing over 15 transactions a year? Not yet. So for someone like Taylor to come back to Ignite, the first time you take Ignite, if you take Ignite the right way, you're going to feel like you're drinking from the fire hose. Right? I'm going to hear the words from you. I'm so overwhelmed. I remember that. 9 years later, I still remember that feeling, sitting in the training room in our old office going, oh my goodness, we're doing this and I can't keep up and all of that. But guess what? I went back and took it again and Ignite. And then I moved up to Bold, right? So Ignite will give you the tools and the skills and the mentorship to take your business to the next level as long as you engage it. Okay. Lizbeth walked out of that first set of Ignite, and I remember what she said to me. I have so much more confidence now because I know what to say. Right? Do you remember that, Lizbeth, when you told me that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And now we can take that to the next level. Okay. All right. I think that's it. May's calendar is full of lots of good stuff, but make sure that you're engaging in it. And especially, you know me, I always highlight some of the stuff, but I did not pull up the whole education calendar. Because I am bowling a tournament later this afternoon. I even got my bowling shirt already on. So ready to hit the lanes and hopefully do well. Better than the slot machines treated me last night. So with that, is there anything you guys want to make sure we cover today? Anybody? What's on your minds? Okay. I went to last week. I was hoping Diane Sheriff would join us today. Last week, Jeff Glover, who is a top agent and coach out of Detroit, Michigan, was in the Denver area and got to spend a half a day with Jeff. I guess I've been to a few of his events because he recognized me and pulled me out and interviewed me during part of the session, which I was not prepared for. He didn't tell me he was going to do that. But lots and lots and lots of good takeaways from that. And I wish I would have brought my notebook, but one of the things that Jeff talked about was following up with people. And he was specifically at that moment really talking about internet leads. And as I find myself thinking about it, it really starts to align with me, internet leads and what are the other kinds? Open house leads or door knocking leads or people that aren't in your direct sphere. Okay. He talks about his follow-up system over 3 days, and it's 9 touches in 3 days. Okay. How many of you, your stomach just turned when I said that? 9 touches in 3 days. Nobody? Nobody's brain went 9 touches in 3 days. Margaret, they're going to think I'm stalking them and they're going to call the cops.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, here's the thing, and Jeff talked about it, is that we're the only ones realizing that we're trying. Estrella's laughing at me. That we're the only ones that realizes it's 9 times. The general consumer is getting inundated and touched in so many different ways. Do you think they even pay attention to them all? Okay. How many of you get up in the morning or take a period of time during the day and you open up your phone and you go to your email and you go edit, check, 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 mass delete. Anybody else doing that? Okay. So if my name popped up in that thing, you may or may not answer and read my email, true?
Yep.
Okay. How many of you get voicemails and go delete, 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 because you read maybe the first sentence and go, I don't care, or I don't know who that person is?
Yep.
Yep. How many of you do the same thing with text messages?
Yep.
There's a reason why when I communicate with you guys, I send text and email, and sometimes I slide broadcast. And I post it on Facebook. And the reason I do that is Diana might prefer hearing my voice. She's probably one of the few, right? Right? Christina would much rather get a text message. Taylor's on Facebook, so she sees it there. We all take in content differently, but yet do you guys realize I'm hitting you 4 times? Maybe only because I draw awareness to it, but probably not. So what Jeff taught us was the first 3 days after you meet somebody new, depending on how hot they are, you might call them during your call time of 9 a.m. If you don't hear from them by 1 o'clock, you might drop them an email. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you might drop them a text message. And if they don't respond to any of those 3, then you turn around the next morning, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe you hit them with an email. And then in the middle of the day, you hit them with a text message. And at the end of the day, you try a phone call. And if that still doesn't work, then you hit it. Do you see how he's not only rotating the different ways of attempting to reach somebody in a 24-hour period, but he's also rearranging the order of which he does them? Tell me why you think he might do that.
It doesn't seem as automated.
Okay. What else? Maybe when I'm calling you at 9 o'clock in the morning, you work a corporate job and you're in the middle of a meeting with your boss. So maybe mornings are not the best time for me to reaching you by phone. But at noon, you're sitting in your office and you might be on a lunch break or in between meetings, and an email comes through. That might actually be the right time, right communication for that time of day. Does that make sense? Questions on that? No? Okay. Another thing that we talked a lot about last week while we were there was one of my favorite quotes. Manage the morning, and the rest of the day will take care of itself. Manage the morning, and the rest of the day will take care of itself. What do you think that means? When I say that, what does that mean to you?
Block out your time in the morning and make sure you get all the things done you need to get done.
Oh. Anybody else? It's true. If you do the most important things first. Okay. My kids are blowing up my phone. Sorry. If you take care of the things that are most important in the morning, the rest of the day happens. Now, there are a lot of people who start prompting and yakking about the mornings. Have you guys ever heard about the 5 a.m.? You get up at 5 a.m. and you get all this stuff done and then you just go? You guys know what I'm talking about? It's called the Miracle Morning. Have you guys heard of it, read that book or heard about it? The Miracle Morning teaches that you should get up really early in the morning before the sun, and you should do all of these different things, and then your day will just be magical. here's the thing. Not all of us are wired to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Your coach is one of them, right? That is not my thing at all, right? I don't wake up that early in the morning, right? But when you can say whatever managing your morning is, whatever time that is, you just go with it, right? But the thing is to be consistent and do the most important things and get into a routine. One of the reasons we start coaching on Monday mornings is because I want to kick off your week strong and then let you go do your stuff. Right? Now, Jeff as a coach would probably tell me this is not the time I should be coaching you, but I'm going to anyway. Okay. But what are the most important things you need to do every day?
So you're definitely in our top offers. I do have an offer.
Your business generating activities. What are your revenue generating activities? Right? What time do I hit the office? What time do I do a quick affirmation? What time do I do a quick script practice role play with one of my role play partners? And then when do I hit lead gen? When do I do prospecting? And whatever that prospecting is, phone, text, email, door knocking, whatever it is, what are you doing and when are you doing it? So I would hope, and the goal would be that your mornings start 9 o'clock, except on Mondays, right? 9 o'clock on Tuesday through Friday, you're hitting some kind of lead generation activity. However, you might also be someone who, you know what, Margaret, my day doesn't start until noon. That's fine. Then if your morning starts at noon, your morning starts at noon, because that means you're probably working noon to 8 instead of 9 to 5. But being consistent in the morning and then using the afternoon for those taking care of our client. And I don't have my notes, and Diane, you are here. Do you have your notes from Jeff when he was talking about the morning was client acquisition and the afternoon was client? What was the word he used? You're on mute.
So the morning is client acquisition and the afternoon is client services. So that's your inspections, your contracts, your listing appointments, your buying appointments. But your morning is reserved completely for prospecting.
There we go. I love that. Like, to me, if I could build, my calendar is built very similar to that, just with different things. But think about it. If you knew that somebody says, hey, I need to schedule an inspection, and they said, well, we can do it at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, what's your answer?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Here's the beauty of it. I will tell, and I have the wonderful support between Stacy and Andy, right? But when we're scheduling things, I'll say, hey, that closing has to be after 1 o'clock on Wednesday, or that closing can't be on Thursday morning, or that inspection, if I'm the one that has to be there, it has to be after this time, right? And I hold certain buckets of time in my calendar as a non-negotiable time, right? In my world, that non-negotiable time is one-on-ones with you guys, right? However, that's my client acquisition time, right? Keeping you guys happy, working with you, right? That is my client acquisition, right? It's okay to tell somebody, sorry, I can't do an inspection at 11 o'clock on Monday. I can do 12, right? Your doctor's office does that all the time to you.
Oh.
Very rarely do I ever call the doctor and say, I have to come in at 10 o'clock. And they'll say, well, the doctor will move some things around for you. Doesn't happen, right? And the reason is they're running on a schedule. Christina Kionis is on the call. I think she's can't talk to us right now, but in her hair business, if she already has Diana scheduled for a highlight and cut at 1 o'clock, and Jeff wants to come in and get his hair done at 1 o'clock, what's she going to tell Jeff?
Don't have any hair.
Yeah. Kind of why I picked on you this morning, Jeff. she's gonna say, I'm sorry, Jeff, I can't do one, but how about, you know what, I can sneak you in at about 1:20 while Diana's processing. Right? It's not gonna be just always what they want. Another great calendar management tool, best practice that we learned is take a day. We all have doctor's appointments. We all have dental appointments. We all have hair appointments. We all have got to take the car to the shop appointments. We have all of those things in called life appointments, right? What if you set aside a morning or a day in your calendar that said, I'm not going to book any business appointments on there in the morning, so that if I go to the dentist and they say, okay, we need to schedule you 6 months for your next cleaning, you can say, great, Friday mornings work great. Wednesday mornings work great. I need to schedule a hair appointment with Christina. Great, Christina, what do you have on a Wednesday morning? Right? I need the appliance guy to come fix my washing machine that's leaking. I need you to come on a Wednesday. If you had that time blocked in your calendar for life appointments, how much easier did that just get for you? You guys going down?
Yeah, we have some more for Monday.
Okay, right. So how does that work to be able to do that? Right. I love that tip. It took a while to get it lined up, right? And to get into the habit of my dental appointments and my eye appointments and my car appointments, they're always on a certain day of the week and a certain time. But I will tell you, it changes how your routines work. What are your thoughts? Don't be this quiet. I need you guys.
I want to start a new routine for when I get off of work. So usually here from like 12:30, then like on Mondays I set time for my weekly posts and everything. So that's like about an hour. And then I usually try and get prints of something. I'm like, I want to get new door hangers, something informational. I take classes on Thursdays. So
Yeah.
Just getting
Figuring
into a
out
new
that
schedule.
routine. Right? Figuring out that routine. And then it doesn't mean it's going to work perfectly every day. There are going to things that are going to be happen that are the exception. I think the key is the words, it's the exception. Right? Not the, oh, I have to miss, and I'll just pick on coaching because I can. Well, I can't make coaching on Monday morning because I have a dentist appointment. Oh, I can't make coaching this Monday because I have an inspection. Oh, I can't make coaching this Monday. And I'm not picking on coaching in the fact that everybody, you guys are all here and you're here consistently, right? But are we holding things as important? And are we letting life take over our calendar with the unexpecteds? And therefore we never get our business done. Right? I had an agent during COVID when kids were being homeschooled, or we're being schooled from the home classroom, let's put it that way. And she was so frustrated one day, and I was like, what's going on? And she says, I just can never get anything done. My kid is constantly interrupting me. And I'm like, what is she interrupting you about? Well, they had a break at school and she needs lunch. Okay, well, that's one of those interruptions that's going to be predictable, right? So predicted in our calendars, let's block some time on your calendar Monday through Friday from 11 to 11:30 that you go make your kid lunch. So when it's time for her to have her lunch break at school, you're already ready and prepared. And she's no longer interrupting you from something else you had planned to do. So as you're managing your calendar, one of the other tricks that I like to use is that identify what stops you from fulfilling what you plan to do. Okay. If you plan to make these phone calls and you got interrupted 3 days in a row because your kids needed lunch, then what do we need to adjust in our calendar? Feeding our children. right? So you'll start to figure out those patterns. And then if you build those things into your calendar and then they come around them, it all of a sudden starts to flow. I didn't plan to go in calendar management, but here we go. The other helpful tip for calendar management is to create time in your calendar that's called oops time. What do you think I mean by oops time?
Those unexpected.
Those unexpecteds. What else? I heard something in the room.
Oh, just something randomly comes up.
Something randomly comes up.
Or you
Or-
forgot, or you forgot.
Or you forgot, okay. How many of you, I'm sure that none of you ever have this happen and it's only a Margaret problem. There's a few of those in the world. You guys know, this crew knows me pretty well, right? I think I have scheduled 30 minutes to do something. Maybe I schedule an hour to do something, right? Estrella just said she's going to be creating some social media posts and creating some door knocking pieces and stuff. So maybe I've scheduled 30 minutes to do that. And then it took me 45. So it bled into my next time block. Or maybe that phone call that I thought was going to take 20 minutes took 30. And it bled into my next activity. By building in oops time into your calendar, and I really like to do it in the middle of the day. Because if I have an oops in the morning, I don't want that looming over my head all day long. Right? So I actually do 2 oops times. I have an oops time in the middle of the day and I have an oops time at the end of the day, except on Mondays. Mondays has no oops. But by building that into your calendars, when things get you off track, it gives you the ability to get back on schedule instead of blowing up your whole day. Okay. So Diane, I'm glad you joined. You took a half a day on Thursday to invest on yourself. Met one of my favorite people in the whole world. And so tell me, other than Jeff making me talk in front of a room full of people and I wasn't prepared, tell me one of your top takeaways. Share with the group what one of your top things was, and why, if they ever get the chance to see Jeff, why they should go see him.
First, if you have the chance to fly to a different city and pick up the 1 or the 17 ways to master the summer, it would be worth every dime you spend on an airplane ticket and a hotel. There is a large retreat coming up, but to me, he took all of the big gotchas for this market, this industry, this world. And I'm talking about the real estate world and being a real estate agent in this economic time, and condensed them down into 17 points. I loved how he presented his material. You didn't get a slide deck. You had to do the writing if you wanted it. You had to listen constantly because he was just showering you with all of this information. The biggest piece that I took away, and I still love it, is a phrase of his called flip the switch. And we've all heard it 1,000 different ways. But when we walk into a listing, when we walk into a buyer's appointment, when we go to a showing, an open house, flip the switch, leave everything else out and put yourself and your talents and your skills in to the moment. I love that. I now have a little sign over my monitor now that says flip the switch. So when I walk into my little office, flip the switch and put me into this moment.
And if I can stop you for 1 second, flip the switch. So by the way, that banner might be getting created and be going in the office. Yeah, we're going to buy a couple of them. Anyway, Flip the switch isn't just when you're going on stage. Right? It's not just go time with the listing consultations or buyer consultations. It is when Lisbeth and Taylor and Jeff walked into that coaching room today, did they flip the switch in which they were going to be fully engaged into the coaching, right? And taking in some nugget today, right, that they can take into their world, or are they multitasking and they're letting the world take away from them, right? Flip that switch. Love that one. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite of all of his quotes. But I do like the manage the morning one as well.
Yep.
So what's the one thing you're going to apply into your business as a result of what Jeff said? One, not all of them, because you can't do them all.
I'm going to work on my talents and my skills to convert expireds.
Okay. So how are you going to work on your talents and skills to become the best expired person out there?
Well, first, that downloaded copy of his script book that has been sitting for 2 months in my file folder, I'm going to go and dig through that. I listened to his podcast, the Unreal podcast, which I completely recommend for everybody. And this week's podcast, or last week's podcast, may I say, had a gentleman on there that is just killing it in his state. And he said, here's how you learn to present. You write it, you practice it, and you record it, and you do it multiple times. So that's going to be my first few steps. I've never really engaged in the scripts. And after listening to him, and I mean, every other second was him pulling up yet another script of his, I can see where I've probably been missing that. So
love that. That's a big takeaway. That is a big takeaway. So, and that is exactly how many coaches teach, learning what to say, learning those conversation starters, learning those listing presentations or buyer presentations, which I'm just going to start calling them an outline of what to say, right? They're Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4.
Yep.
Okay. If you take a listing consultation, a buyer consultation, a objection handler, a phone script, whatever you want to call it, and you want to learn it and you want to internalize it, right? How many of you don't practice scripts or fight me on scripts because you say, well, that doesn't sound like me. I would never say those words. You all do, so stop it, okay? I know that you do because I did and I sometimes still do. However, if you internalize them the way they're written, because here's the thing, the people that I share scripts with you from, whether it's MAPS, whether it's Jeff's organization, whether it's Kevin Ward's organization, I know that they have been very thoughtful about how they wrote them, and they are written by people who know how to use certain words to create emotion and action from the consumers. They are written in a way to get what we need them to think about and what we need them not to agree to, right? It's not necessarily we want them to agree. As a matter of fact, I woke up this morning and lost a listing I thought I had, right? And I used every script in the book at 6:45 Vegas time this morning, trying to convince this woman why she was making a mistake. But I needed to have those words so that they flew off my tongue. And they did. And now I have my Starbucks. My brother went and got me a Starbucks. Okay. We just have to let Stacy know I'm a princess even when I travel. So anyway, having those in your internal heart, right? And I can remember many times saying, oh my goodness, where did that come from? It came flying out of my mouth and I sounded just like Sue, or I sounded just like Charles, or I sounded just like whoever. It's because you've internalized them. So here's how you do it. Let's say you want to master the listing consultation. How many of you want to master the listing consultation so that you kill it and you are smooth in every scenario? Everybody's hand should go up. Okay. The reason you want to do that is, remember what we were learning with fair housing that we talked about last month, is that consistency is key. Consistency is key because you will do it the same way always for all people, everything. If an investigator walked in and said, so tell me, how do you handle your listing consultations? You can just go boom, and you go straight into action, right? You go into go time. So here's how to master whatever you want to master. You write it down, you handwrite it with a real pen, Taylor. Don't type it, but with a real pen.
Planners.
Huh?
So I got rid of all of my 3 planners.
Well, I'll get you a notebook. We'll find you some more paper, okay? But we know that when we write with a pen, now we're seeing the visual creativity and the brain kicks in and does certain things. This is why cursive handwriting is so important, is because of the way that we write the letters. I have teacher friends who do brain integration, can you tell, right? The circles in the letters help bring things and make our brain work better. It's why we teach our seniors, me, to do crossword puzzles and Sudoku puzzles and all kinds of things so that we can keep our brain active. So you take whatever you're going to learn, take the listing presentation, take the buyer consultation, take an inspired script, and you write it for 30 minutes every day. You copy it word for word. So you take the written script and your pen and you're writing, this word goes, and you write it exactly the way it's done for 30 minutes. You may not get the first day the listing presentation completely written in that first 30 minutes. Then the second day for 30 minutes, you write that script or that presentation, and you might get a little farther if you're doing the listing presentation. And you do that on day 1, day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 28, 29, 30. 30 consecutive days. Yes, I did mean Saturdays and Sundays. 30 minutes. Come on, Diane. It's 30 minutes. You've got 30 minutes, right? Write it out. Do you think by the end of those 30 days, you'll have that bad boy memorized? Absolutely. The next 30 days, you chant it 3 times or 15 minutes, whichever comes first.
Did you say chant it?
Chant it, speak it, voice it.
Okay.
Right? Now, what I did when I really wanted to get better is I did the writing and the reading it out loud to myself. I did those simultaneously. I combined days 1 through 60. So I wrote it and spoke it every day. If I said the same thing, wrote it for 30 minutes every day, and I spoke it at least, depending on what it is, if it's a script that's like 5 sentences, I'd probably do it 3 times. If it's a listing presentation, I would just do the whole thing once as much as I could in that time frame. You are going to get really, really good at it. Well, that's step 2. There's 3 steps. The third step is do it with each other, right? So you've got your listing consultation down. Now you find that partner, right? So Lizbeth gets with Taylor and they say, okay, we're going to do our listing consultations. By the way, you guys, a true listing consultation, the way it's written out and verbalized, if you're practicing, shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. So Lizbeth and Taylor get together once a day for 30 days. And Taylor does her listing presentation to Lizbeth, and Lizbeth does hers to Taylor. And then as they are starting to practice, now they start practicing the objections, right? So what's your commission, Taylor? Well, I've got an agent who will do it at 4.8%. Why should I hire you? Are you prepared for that? That was at 6:45 this morning, by the way. Right? Are you prepared for those objections? Don't be jerks to each other. Please don't be jerks when you script and role play, but give each other real objections, right? How many of you learned a ton between Brittany Hackenberg's listing consultation and the Kessler's buyer consultation because of the way their customers that were in the chair pushed back a little bit? That was a pretty realistic way it happens in both of those events. Okay, so practice that with each other. I will promise you this, if you did that for that full 90-day period, no one could take you out. Now you're going, but Margaret, I don't have 90 days. I need money now. I'm done playing games. I got big goals and I need to make some bank. If you start practicing it that way now, do you think you'll be better a week from now than you are today, even if you just are handwriting it all day long? I'm not telling you to stop going on meetings and to stop talking to people to do this. I'm telling you to use this as a way to make your skills better. Questions? Thoughts? No thoughts?
I definitely.
Diane's got one. She's telling me she got her finger up at me. Why, Diane's unmuting. Go, Taylor.
I said I just need to practice scripts way more. I don't practice scripts nearly enough.
Yeah. Sometimes you can just practice in the car. Diane.
I really liked this guy's idea of recording yourself
Yes.
and then playing it back. Because one, you can actually see yourself and be able to adjust. Because there's another piece. It's not just the words, it's how you present yourself. And if you're saying, I really think this is a great interest rate, that's not compelling enough to make the statement, right? But I did like that. And then being able to give that recording to someone and have them say, well, here's what I thought of the recording. I thought, you were lackluster or you didn't present, or, you could actually, be a little bit more engaged. I thought that was an interesting way of doing it.
I do like that, right? I wouldn't record every day, but I might record, like maybe after a week, you record yourself. And I don't know, you all have a coach. I don't have anything else to do. I'll watch videos. I watched little foxes running around these yards this weekend, and they were so cute. I watched those videos more than once when they sent them to me. So yeah, maybe you record yourself once after a week. And then what if you did it at week 3, right? Even you would be able to see the improvements, right? Let alone your coach be able to see those. So I love those things. I love that tip. So thanks, Diane, for bringing that. The other big thing I took away, and I'm not good at this, and so you guys all get to hold me accountable instead of me holding you. So my accountability is, Jeff talked about listening to 5 podcasts a week, 1 a day. So find 5 people that do podcasts that you like to listen to. This is all about getting our minds right, getting our brains in the right places. And so find some podcasts that you find help you and get you going in all of the right ways and methods and all of that type of stuff. And okay, so is your screen bouncing like I can see it bouncing?
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they told me the computer was fixed. That's why I brought my home laptop in. So we'll fix that. But find some podcasts, right? So Jeff's got Live Unreal. Some dude named Gary Keller has one called Think Like a CEO. I love that one. There are 4 female top producing agents in Gary's organization that have one called Empire Builders. That's a really good one, right? Then find some of these people that really speak to you. Ed Milet is one that a lot of people like. I don't know if Rachel Hollis is still doing hers, but for a long time she was really out there and had some good stuff. And I'm not a podcaster. Now I can tell you who is. Charles and Debbie are podcasters like there's no tomorrow. So if you're looking for some podcast recommendations, those would be two people that would be just say, hey, what's your favorite podcast right now? I'm looking to add something. And then as they said last week, is that how many of us are in our car? And everywhere we go, how far does it take to get there?
20 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes. What's the length of the average podcast? 15 to 20 minutes. So as you're driving to the office or the grocery store or wherever, what if you every day listen to a podcast in at least one trip in the car? And right, you have a Monday guy, a Tuesday, like maybe you listen to Gary on Mondays and Empire Builders on Tuesdays and Live on Real on Thursdays and Ed Milet on Friday. Like just pick 4 or 5 of them. But I thought that was really good. So that's the one that I took away from last week, was that I'm going to bring that into my world as I spend a lot of time in my car.
I'm gonna have to get some really loud speakers.
Why?
From the motorcycle.
I figured it out. Well, you can listen to a lot of podcasts on the way to Sturgis.
Yeah, you can. 6 hours.
Ooh, crazy. So anyway, I hope you guys found some nuggets today. I hope you found some value out of what we're doing today. I saw a bunch of contracts come in this weekend. As far as the people, we got some stuff going, right? We got first closings, we've got first listings, we have all kinds of great things happening here in this group. So let's keep it going. And pretty soon I want you all promoted to 3. So then I only have 1 coaching group a week. I'm kidding. We'll move you all up. So with that, do not forget all those other super important dates. And I will see you soon. All right. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes.
can you go up to that laptop
Uh-huh.
and can you end the meeting? Because if I leave, I don't think it'll end it.
Yep.
And then Stacy just needs to know we're ready to roll for the next one. So do you see where it says